This is Jordan Nichols reporting live for Minot News 1. AguaClara is the first bottled water product from AguaClara Global Beverages, a world-renowned Spanish company most well known for its private label sodas, juices, and wine coolers. AguaClara has been the saving grace of Spanish mogul Santiago Botella's floundering empire. However, today's breaking news story finds that AguaClara is in the middle of a dangerous water fiasco. Allegations peg AguaClara as responsible for the contamination of Minot, North Dakota's once pristine groundwater. The contamination crisis unraveled last Tuesday when hundreds of Minot citizens flooded hospitals with flu-like symptoms. Victims of the contamination include 6 infants, who are now in critical condition at UND's American Family Children's Hospital. The city of Minot swiftly responded to the mysterious epidemic by commissioning an investigator committee to identify the source of the problem. Shockingly, the committee found the source of the illness to be well water containing high levels of nitrate. To better explain this situation, we asked Minot One's resident science expert, Dr. Brill Brosnan. Dr. Brosnan, welcome.
Thank you, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
Perhaps you can shed light on this complicated situation. The public tap water of Minot, North Dakota has been contaminated. Nitrate was found in the tap water, and as a result, over 300 patients have been admitted to local hospitals, with several in critical condition. Now, how exactly did this happen?
After interviewing some of the city's water experts, it seems that there was no singular cause behind the contamination. It was likely a combination of factors, including some completely outside anyone's control, such as the level of rainfall. But the one thing we do know is that the nitrate itself is from the fertilizer commonly used by Minot area farmers.
Now, Dr. Brosnan, if the nitrate is from fertilizer, how is it so unclear who is responsible?
Good question, Jordan. Minot One has exclusive access to a report showing the negligence lawsuit the city of Minot filed against the farmers. However, after exclusive interviews with farmers, Minot One determined that the Farmers Association of Central North Dakota, or FAND, is going to make a strong response. They argue AguaClara is to blame.
Doctor, how are we able to determine who is accountable?
Well, the uncertainty lies in how the fertilizer came to be in the wells throughout the county. You see, well water comes from the aquifers, which are underground layers that yield usable groundwater. AguaClara actually pumps from the same aquifer that connects to nearly 50% of Minot's residents' wells. Once AguaClara pumps water from this aquifer, it's then filtered and purified before being bottled and sold.
So how is it possible that AguaClara could be at fault for the fertilizer contamination?
According to the analysts familiar with this industry, it appears AguaClara may have pumped faster than these wells could replenish. This created a starved well. As a result, the starved well pulled in outside water sources from all around the area. It even sucked in water from faraway farmlands. And water from farmlands was pulled towards a starved well. Surface contaminants such as fertilizer were not filtered out before reaching the groundwater. It was the perfect storm.
Now, Doctor, were AguaClara's actions illegal?
No. In fact, it was confirmed this morning that AguaClara was pumping within its legal limits. And as I said earlier, it is unclear who is responsible for the water contamination. There were many factors that caused this incident.
Now, just to be clear, is there any problem with the water in AguaClara's bottles?
No. AguaClara's water is fine. They have added filtration. Only the tap water is affected. The city of Minot has advised all well water receiving residents to cease drinking tap water until further notice.
Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you, Jordan.
For those of you who have just joined us, Dr. Brill Brosnan just described that it is unclear who the culprit is behind the water contamination. Though what is clear is the darkening public mood towards AguaClara. The general public, farmers, and activists are left extremely distraught. To further understand how this is affecting citizens, Minot One took to the streets and spoke with Charlie Charmount, whose son is currently in critical condition at American Family Children's Hospital.
All I can say is, my son is in the hospital. How could this happen? My spouse and I have been living in Minot for almost 8 years. We've always drunk the tap water. I want to know who will be held responsible for this. It's not right. These companies want to make a buck off of North Dakota, and who's to pay? My son?
But despite the contamination devastation, others are still unsure of who's to blame.
What's happening is horrible, scary even. But I don't know who to believe or who to blame. AguaClara has done so much for our community over the past few years, and both of my cousins have gotten jobs at the AguaClara factory, and I don't know how their families would have survived if they hadn't. I hate to believe that AguaClara is really behind all of this.
AguaClara has been deeply involved in Minot and other North Dakota communities. Yet, the company still has critics, such as Farmers Association of North Dakota member Frank Lewis.
We've been complaining to the city for years, but nobody's listening. I mean, does it really take a town full of sick people for them to hear us? It's a downright shame. It's disgusting. I pray for the families that are affected. These politicians, these officials, they're so dazzled by corporate America's money that they forget about the Midwest's original industry, farming. I mean, 1 out of 4 jobs in this state come from agriculture. 1 out of 4. Our crops have never had lower yields, and our land has never been drier since AguaClara moved in, and that's a fact. The only water our county needs is in our irrigation sprinklers, not in some fancy pop-top plastic bottle.
For another perspective, we have Devin Williamson standing by live. Devin is a fisherman and spokesperson of Anglers of Minot, an environmental conservation association dedicated to the ecological protection of Minot area lakes. Devin, what's your take on AguaClara and the crisis in Minot?
Now, believe me, I'm all for strengthening North Dakota's economy. But at what cost? We need to look at the big picture. Here's a perfect example of the trade-offs we face with companies like AguaClara. Reports by North Dakota's Department of Natural Resources and Environment show this area has some of the best brown trout water in the Midwest, and probably even east of the Rockies. With AguaClara pumping so aggressively, our trout stream levels are getting lower and lower. They are in serious jeopardy. This region has attracted angler fishermen since the late 1800s. So, beyond this immediate crisis, this news could cause a big hit to North Dakota's recreation and tourism industries. How are these companies really helping us in the end? We as citizens need to join together against the multinational companies encroaching upon North Dakota's natural resources. This is our state and the people's water. We have a say. In fact, my partners here at Anglers of Minot are joining with other groups to form a coalition for water as a public good, and we intend to be an important player in this lawsuit.
The entire state is following this dramatic fiasco, realizing with horror that this could happen in any of our backyards. Be sure to stay tuned to Minot News 1 for exclusive coverage of this crisis.